She signed the divorce papers without reading them. Didn't cry. Didn't scream. Didn't ask for anything. Her billionaire husband laughed, thinking he'd won. 3 months later, he lost everything. And the woman he'd thrown away? She became his boss. This is the true story of the wife who walked away with nothing. Because she already owned everything. Stay with me, because what happens next will make you believe in karma. Welcome to Voice of Granny. While you are here, please hit the subscribe button and comment your view on the story and where you're watching from. You know what everyone told her to do? Fight. Scream. Make his life a living hell. But when Elena Rivera sat down in that lawyer's office in downtown Mumbai, watching the divorce papers slide across the polished wooden table, she did something nobody expected. She signed them without a single tear. Just like that. 12 years of marriage, gone with the stroke of a pen. Her husband, let's call him Raj, he sat across from her looking at his expensive watch. The same watch she'd saved up to buy him 5 years ago when his business was struggling. Now he couldn't even look her in the eye. Elena, let's not drag this out, he said, his voice smooth and cold. The prenup is clear. You get the apartment in Pune and 2 crore rupees. That's it. 2 crore rupees. It sounds like a lot, doesn't it? But Raj had just made the Forbes list. His tech company was worth almost 6,000 crores. 2 crores was what he spent on cars last year. And there she sat, the woman who had held his hand through bankruptcy, who had hosted dinners for his investors, who had stayed up nights helping him debug his code when his eyes were too tired to see straight. The lawyer, a family friend who'd been at their wedding, pushed the papers closer. Mrs. Rivera, you understand the terms? No alimony. No claim to the company's shares. And there's a confidentiality agreement. The NDA? Elena asked quietly. Standard, Raj interrupted, tapping his fingers impatiently. You don't talk about the marriage. You don't talk about the business. And you definitely don't talk about Priya. Priya, his 23-year-old assistant. The woman who'd been posting photos from Elena's own kitchen while Elena was away caring for her dying mother in Goa. The lawyer slid a pen across the table. A fancy Mont Blanc pen that Elena herself had gifted Raj for their 10th anniversary. Just sign it, Elena, Raj said. There was something in his voice. Not cruelty exactly, but dismissal. Like she was a chapter in his life he was ready to close. For a moment, Elena just looked at him. Really looked at him. This man she'd loved, supported, built up from nothing. And she realized something that made her heart both break and harden at the same time. He truly believed she was nothing without him. I don't need your pen, Raj, she said softly. She reached into her purse and pulled out her own pen. It was vintage, black with gold details, elegant and old. The lawyer's eyes widened slightly when he saw it, but he couldn't quite place why it looked so important. Elena flipped to the last page. She didn't read the clauses. She didn't negotiate. She didn't beg. She just signed, Elena Rivera. She dropped his last name right there. Done, she whispered. Raj actually laughed. A short, arrogant laugh that filled the room. Well, that was easier than I thought. I expected drama, tears, the whole scene. I don't do drama, Raj, Elena said, standing up and smoothing her simple navy dress. I prefer results. She walked to the door, her hand on the handle. She didn't turn around, but she said one last thing. Make sure you check the date on that bank transfer, Raj. And enjoy your vacation with Priya. I hear the weather in Goa can be unpredictable this time of year. Then she walked out. Raj laughed again, shaking his head. She's broken, he told the lawyer. Completely broken. She didn't even fight for the car. But the lawyer wasn't laughing. He was staring at Elena's signature, at that expensive pen she'd used. Raj, he said slowly, did you ever ask Elena about her family? Her real family. She's from Goa. Her father was a librarian or something. Why? That pen she used. I've only seen that crest once before. On documents from a private bank in Geneva. Raj waved him off. She probably found it at an antique shop. She's always buying old junk. Look, I'm free. Finally free. He walked out of that office thinking he'd just gotten rid of dead weight. He had no idea that he'd just lit a fuse on a bomb that had been sitting in his lap for 10 years. See, here's what Raj didn't know, what nobody knew. Elena Rivera wasn't just a quiet housewife who liked old books and cooking shows. That was the role she'd played, yes. But it was just that. A role. Before she married Raj, before she became the supportive wife in the background, Elena had another name. Another life. And that life was about to come knocking on Raj's door in a way he could never have imagined. Because 3 months later, everything changed. A single photograph appeared online that made Raj's blood run cold. And suddenly, the woman he'd thrown away like yesterday's newspaper was everywhere. On magazine covers, in boardrooms, at exclusive parties he couldn't even get into anymore. And she wasn't crying. She wasn't broken. She was thriving. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you what happened in those 3 months. Because this is where the story really begins. This is where Elena stopped playing small and started playing chess. And Raj? He was about to realize that he'd never been the king in this game. He'd always been the pawn. For 3 months, Raj lived his best life. Or so he thought. He posted everything on social media. Him and Priya on his yacht. Priya modeling his new Mercedes. Champagne in Dubai. Private jets to the Maldives. He wanted the world, and especially Elena, to see how much better off he was without her. The media ate it up. Headlines screamed. Tech billionaire moves on with stunning new girlfriend. And where's the ex-wife now? They found Elena once, coming out of a small grocery store in Pune, loading bags into an old Honda. She wore a simple salwar kameez and looked tired. The caption read, "The sad aftermath, billionaire's ex-wife reduced to ordinary life." Raj laughed when he saw that photo. He showed it to Priya on his yacht, which was docked in Goa for a tech conference. "She looks pathetic," Priya giggled, zooming in on her phone. "How did you survive 12 years with someone so boring?" "I was being charitable," Raj grinned. "She was a placeholder. You're the real prize, babe." But back in Mumbai, Raj's business was hitting problems. Small ones at first. His company, TechRise Solutions, was preparing for a massive merger with a European investment firm. It was the deal that would make him not just rich, but seriously generationally wealthy. But the meetings weren't going well. "They're asking about the Rivera Protocol," his chief technology officer said during a frantic video call. "They want to know who wrote the core security code." "I did," Raj lied smoothly. "It's my code." "They know it's not you, Raj. The coding signature is different. They're asking to speak to the original programmer. The employee ID just says ER from 2014. Raj felt his stomach drop. ER. Elena Rivera. No. Impossible. Elena helped him with typos, organized his files. She didn't write complex code. She had a degree in literature, for God's sake. Her father was a librarian. "It must have been some freelancer I hired and forgot about," Raj said quickly. "Just handle it. I'm in Goa. Don't ruin my weekend." He hung up, annoyed. He needed a distraction. "Babe," Priya called from the deck. "Come look at this massive yacht pulling in next to us." Raj walked over. His yacht was impressive, 45 meters of luxury. But the boat pulling into the dock beside them made his look like a toy. It was enormous, gleaming white and gold, with a helicopter on the top deck. "That's the Kensington yacht," Raj breathed. "The Ashford family owns it." The Ashfords were old money. Not tech-rich like Raj. Real money. Banking, railroads, steel mills going back 200 years. Catherine Ashford, the family's youngest heir, was basically royalty in the international elite circles. She didn't do interviews. She didn't hang out with new money tech guys like Raj. "If we could get invited to their party tonight," Raj said, his mind racing, "the merger would be guaranteed. The Ashfords own 15% of the investment firm." "I'll send her a DM," Priya said, pulling out her phone. "You don't DM Catherine Ashford," Raj snapped. He watched as the yacht's gangway lowered. Paparazzi on the shore went crazy, cameras flashing like lightning. First came security guards in dark suits. Then came Catherine Ashford herself, tall, elegant, wearing white linen and enormous sunglasses. And then, walking right beside her, arm in arm and laughing, was another woman. She wore a designer dress that Raj recognized from a fashion magazine. Her hair was cut in a sleek, modern style. She carried herself with a confidence that seemed familiar, yet completely foreign. On her wrist was a watch that cost more than the apartment Raj had, generously, given Elena in the divorce. The woman turned to help Catherine with a bag, and as she did, the wind caught her wide-brimmed hat. Sunlight hit her face. Raj dropped his glass of whiskey. It shattered on the deck. It was Elena, but not his Elena. Not the quiet woman in simple clothes who cooked dinner and watched TV. This woman was radiant. Powerful. She looked like she belonged next to Catherine Ashford. "No," Raj whispered. "That's impossible." Down on the dock, the paparazzi were shouting. "Catherine! Catherine! Who's your friend?" Catherine stopped, put her arm around Elena's waist, and actually smiled at the cameras, something she rarely did. This is the woman who saved my entire portfolio, Catherine announced, her voice carrying across the water. This is Elena, and we're going shopping. Camera shutters exploded. 1,000 photos taken in seconds. Elena looked up, straight up at Raj's yacht. She saw him. She saw Priya. She didn't wave. She didn't look angry. She just lowered her sunglasses, looked him dead in the eye, and gave the tiniest nod. Then she turned, linked arms with Catherine, and stepped into a waiting Rolls-Royce. Raj's phone started buzzing. It was his lawyer. Raj, we have a problem. Not now, Raj said, his voice shaking. I think I'm hallucinating. Raj, listen. The merger is on hold. The European firm just hired an external consultant to audit your code. Someone high-level. Who? Raj demanded, though he already knew. Somehow he already knew. Elena Rivera. The phone slipped from Raj's hand. On the deck, Priya was scrolling through her phone, her face going pale. Raj, I'm losing followers. The comments on my photos, they're calling me the downgrade. But Raj wasn't listening. He was staring at the empty dock where Elena had stood, trying to understand how his quiet, simple ex-wife had just stepped out of a superyacht with one of the richest women in the world. And more importantly, what else had Elena been hiding? Let me tell you about the photograph. Within an hour, it was everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, every news site in India and beyond. Who is the mystery woman with Catherine Ashford? The comments sections were wild. Wait, is that the sad ex-wife from that grocery store photo? No way. Look at her posture. Look at that Hermes bag. You don't buy those. You get invited to buy those. Who is she really? In his hotel suite, Raj was pacing, phone pressed to his ear. Priya sat on the bed crying, not from sadness, but because she'd lost 10,000 followers in an hour. Find out what she's doing there, Raj barked at his lawyer. Is she working for the Ashfords? Did she become a maid or something? His lawyer's voice was tired. Raj, I called the Ashford family office. They laughed at me. Actually laughed. They said, and I quote, MS, Rivera is not staff. She is a guest of the family. Mr. Kapoor should worry about his own problems rather than his ex-wife's social calendar. Then they hung up. Raj threw his phone onto the bed. This doesn't make sense. She spent 12 years clipping coupons and watching cooking shows. Now suddenly she's Grace Kelly? But deep down, a cold fear was growing. He remembered the pen. The way she'd signed without even reading the papers. The calm in her voice when she said, I prefer results. Meanwhile, just a few kilometers away, in a luxury hotel suite overlooking the Arabian Sea, the atmosphere was completely different. Catherine Ashford was eating French fries with her hands, still in her white linen outfit. Elena sat at a desk, laptop open, completely focused. The glamorous image from the photos was gone. She was in work mode. You broke the internet, Ellie, Catherine said. Raj has been calling everyone we know. He's panicking. Elena didn't look up from her screen. He should be. His company's finances are a mess. He's borrowed against everything to fund this merger. If the deal stalls for more than 2 weeks, the banks will come calling. He'll lose everything. Catherine shook her head. You're terrifying, you know that? The man dumped you, and you're not even angry. You're just dismantling him like a puzzle. Elena stopped typing. She turned her chair around. Do you remember London 2015? Elena asked quietly. Catherine's smile faded. I try not to. Your father had just died. The board was trying to push you out of Ashford Industries. They said you were too young, too inexperienced. Your own uncles forged those financial documents to make it look like you were stealing from the company. Everyone believed them, Catherine whispered. Even my cousins. I was the forensic accountant the board hired to bury you, Elena said. I was supposed to find the evidence that would send you to prison. I was 26, broke and hungry. I needed that paycheck. But you didn't take it, Catherine said. You came to me in the middle of the night. You gave me the flash drive that proved my uncles were the real thieves. You saved everything, my reputation, my inheritance, my life. Elena stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the ocean. Because I hate bullies, Catherine. And I hate liars. Raj is both. She took a sip of water. For 12 years, I played the role he needed. The supportive wife. The quiet partner. I wrote his code in secret. I fixed his legal problems. I managed his PR disasters. I thought if I made him successful enough, we'd be happy. I wanted a family. I wanted peace. Her voice hardened. I was wrong. He didn't want a partner. He wanted an audience. And when he got bored of the applause, he replaced me. Catherine stood and walked over, putting a hand on Elena's shoulder. So what's the plan? You're auditing his merger now. You control his future. Do you destroy the deal? Elena smiled, and it was a cold smile. Destroy it? No. That's too simple. If the deal dies, he just goes bankrupt and blames the economy. He becomes a victim. She walked back to her laptop and hit send on an email. I'm going to let the merger go forward. But on my terms. Because I'm going to prove something to the world. What's that? That the genius behind TechRise Solutions was never Raj Kapoor. It was the wife he threw away. The email sent. On the screen. To Board of Directors, Eurovest Capital. Subject. Code audit results. Critical IP ownership discrepancies. Catherine grinned. You're really doing this. I'm done hiding, Elena said quietly. 2 days later, Raj was back in Mumbai, the vacation cut short. He stormed into TechRise headquarters like a man on fire. His entire executive team was waiting in the conference room. They all looked exhausted. Tell me this is a joke, Raj said. Eurovest wants a full code audit? They want to interview the original programmer. We can't fake it anymore, Raj, his CTO said. The auditor they hired is too good. She found code signatures we didn't even know existed. She's saying the intellectual property doesn't belong to you. Who is this auditor? Raj demanded. Get her on a call. I'll pay her triple whatever Eurovest is paying. She's already here, a voice said from the doorway. Raj spun around. Elena stood there in a sharp gray business suit, hair pulled back, carrying a leather briefcase. Behind her were 3 lawyers from the most aggressive law firm in India. Hello, Raj, she said calmly. For a moment, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Security. Raj finally shouted. Security can't help you, Elena said, walking into the room. The executives parted for her like water. She took the seat at the head of the table, his seat. Raj was too shocked to stop her. As of this morning, Elena continued, Eurovest has frozen the merger pending investigation of intellectual property theft. And since your loan agreements require this merger to close by Friday, the bank has taken operational control. She looked up at him, her eyes steady and cold. I've been appointed interim compliance officer. Which means, Raj, I'm in charge now. The room went completely silent. Have you ever seen someone's entire world collapse in real time? That's what happened to Raj in that moment. His face went from red to white. A vein throbbed in his temple. You don't know anything about running a company. You're just a housewife who got lucky. Elena didn't flinch. Instead, she reached into her briefcase and pulled out a worn black notebook. It was battered, the spine cracked from years of use. Raj's eyes went wide. He recognized that notebook. He'd seen it on her nightstand for 12 years. He'd always thought it was her diary where she wrote grocery lists or maybe poetry. Do you know what this is, Raj? Elena asked, holding it up. Your diary, he said weakly. It's a ledger, she corrected. A record of everything. Every time I saved you. Every piece of code I wrote. Every disaster I cleaned up while you took credit. She opened it to a page marked with a red tab. August 14th, 2016. The system crashed because you tried to cut costs on the server migration. You wanted to save money for a new BMW. You called me at 2 a.m., crying, saying you'd lose everything. Who fixed it? Raj swallowed. You called technical support. I was technical support, Elena said firmly. I rewrote the entire database architecture in 4 hours while you slept. I logged it all here. She flipped another page. November 2019. Remember the scandal with the minister's daughter? That didn't just go away, Raj. I negotiated the settlement. I structured the payments so nothing could be traced back to you. I saved your reputation. Flip. Another page. And this, she said, pointing to a specific entry. The Rivera Protocol. The code that your entire company is built on. The algorithm that makes TechRise work. She looked at the CTO. Pull up the source code. Line 3042. Read the comment. The CTO hesitated, then typed. The code appeared on the big screen. He read aloud. Written by ER for RK. Happy anniversary, my love. You could hear a pin drop. I wrote that code, Elena said quietly but firmly. I gave it to you as a 5th anniversary gift. You said it was beautiful. You said it would change everything. And it did. It made you rich. She closed the notebook with a heavy thud. But here's the interesting part, Raj. According to the prenup you wrote, I retain ownership of all intellectual property I created before being formally employed by your company. And I was never formally employed. She stood up. which means the Rivera Protocol, the heart of TechRise Solutions, belongs to me. You've been trying to sell MY property to Eurovest. Raj collapsed into a chair. You can't prove. I already did, Elena said. I have the original files. Timestamped. Backed up on servers you don't even know exist. Eurovest has seen everything. She walked toward the door, then paused. You have two choices, Raj. Option A. I sue you for intellectual property theft and fraud. The merger dies. The bank sees everything. You go to prison. And Priya leaves you because you'll be broke. And option B? Raj's voice was barely a whisper. Option B, Elena said, her voice like ice. You resign as CEO. Today. You blame health reasons, stress, exhaustion, whatever. You sign over your voting rights to a trustee of my choosing. In exchange, I let the merger happen. You walk away with enough money to live comfortably. But you're never in charge again. And you never, ever speak my name in public. She opened the door. You have 1 hour. I'll be in your office. Or should I say my office now? She walked out, the lawyers following. Raj sat there, surrounded by the executives who used to fear him. Now they looked at him with pity. He'd lost everything, the company, the power, the respect. All because he'd underestimated the quiet woman who used to make his coffee. But Elena wasn't finished. Because while she'd been talking to Raj, her phone had buzzed with a text from Catherine. He's here. The ghost. He knows you're active again. Elena looked at the message. The ghost. That was a name she hadn't heard in years. A name from her old life, before Raj, before India. The man she'd run from 12 years ago. And he'd found her. That evening, Elena stood in Raj's old office, her office now, looking out at the Mumbai skyline. The city lights sparkled like stars. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. Hello, Dmitry. A man's voice, thick with a Russian accent, came through. Elena Volkov. Or should I say Elena Rivera? You've been busy. What do you want, Dmitry? You know what I want. The master code. The one you stole when you disappeared from Geneva. I've spent 12 years looking for you. Then I see your face on the news, and I think, there she is. My little architect. Elena's grip tightened on the phone. I'm not your anything anymore. You stole from me, Elena. That code can access encrypted accounts worth billions. I want it back. It doesn't exist anymore, Elena lied. Dmitry laughed. Don't insult my intelligence. That black book you carry everywhere? I know what's in it. I'm in Mumbai right now. We should meet. Talk about old times. If you come near me, you'll what? Dmitry's voice went cold. You think your new rich friends can protect you? I'm not some pathetic ex-husband, Elena. I'm the man who taught you everything. And I always collect my debts. The line went dead. Elena stood there, her reflection in the window looking back at her. She'd escaped one nightmare only to face another. Dmitry was dangerous in ways Raj could never imagine. But Elena wasn't the same frightened girl who'd run from Geneva 12 years ago. She was stronger now. Smarter. And she had a plan. The gala at the Taj Hotel was the event of the season. Everyone who was anyone in Mumbai's elite society would be there. The dress code was red, ruby, crimson, scarlet. The theme was Phoenix Rising. Elena thought that was fitting. She arrived at 8 p.m., descending the grand staircase in a blood-red gown that hugged every curve. Around her neck was a diamond necklace borrowed from the Ashford family collection. But it was what she carried in her hand that mattered, a small beaded clutch, just big enough for one black notebook. Catherine walked beside her, wearing gold. Are you sure about this? She whispered. Dmitry is dangerous. I know, Elena said. That's why we end it tonight. The crowd parted as they walked. Cameras flashed. Whispers followed them. And there, by the bar, looking uncomfortable in a rented tuxedo, stood Raj. He'd been invited before his fall from grace, and apparently nobody had revoked his ticket. Their eyes met across the room. Raj looked away first. But Elena's attention was elsewhere. In the balcony above, barely visible in the shadows, she could feel eyes watching her. Dmitry. He was here. At 9 p.m., Elena excused herself and walked out to the hotel's rooftop garden. The Mumbai night air was warm and humid. The city sprawled below, alive with lights and noise. Footsteps behind her. Beautiful view, Dmitry's voice said. He stepped out of the shadows, a tall man in his 60s, silver-haired, wearing an expensive suit. He looked like someone's kind grandfather. But Elena knew better. Hello, Dmitry. You look well, Elena. India agrees with you. What do you want? The master code. Give it to me, and I'll disappear. You'll never see me again. Elena turned to face him. And if I don't? Dimitri's smile vanished. He pulled a small gun from his jacket, fitted with a silencer. Then I take it from your corpse. I've already paid off hotel security. Nobody will interrupt us. You'd kill me? After everything we were to each other. Business is business, Elena. You taught me that. Elena reached into her clutch. Slowly. Dimitri tensed. Careful. She pulled out what looked like a small remote with a red button. You want the master code? You want the data that can crack open bank accounts worth billions. Give it to me. It's not in my bag, Dimitri. It's in the cloud, connected to my biometric readings. If my heart stops or if I press this button, everything deletes. The master code, your client list, the blackmail files, all gone forever. Dimitri's eyes widened. You're bluffing. Am I? Elena held the device up. Think about it. I'm not the scared girl who ran from Geneva. I've spent 12 years planning for this moment. You taught me to always have a kill switch, remember? She stepped closer, making Dimitri step back. Here's the new deal. You leave. Tonight. You go back to Europe and never look for me again. Because if you don't, I won't just delete the code. I'll publish it. I'll make it open source. Every hacker on Earth will have access to your entire operation. You wouldn't. That's your insurance. I don't need insurance anymore, Elena said coldly. I have money now. I have power. I have friends in very high places. But more than that, I'm tired of running. So yes, I would absolutely burn it all down just to watch you lose everything. Dimitri stared at her. He looked at the device in her hand. He looked at her eyes. He saw no fear. No hesitation. Slowly, he lowered the gun. You've changed. I evolved, she corrected. Dimitri put the gun away. This isn't over. Yes, Elena said firmly. It is. Dimitri stared at her for a long moment. Then he nodded, turned, and walked away into the darkness. Elena stood there, her hand shaking slightly. She waited until she was sure he was gone. Then she looked at the device in her hand. It was a television remote. She'd bluffed him completely. The master code was safe, hidden, backed up in places even she sometimes forgot about. But Dimitri's paranoia, his fear of losing control, that had been his weakness. A voice behind her. Was that real? Elena turned. Raj stood there. He must have followed her. He looked small, defeated. The remote? No, Elena said. But his fear was. Raj shook his head in wonder. Who are you really? Elena walked past him toward the door. I'm exactly who I always was, Raj. You just never bothered to look. I'm sorry, he said quietly. For everything. I was a fool. Elena paused. Yes, you were. What happens to me now? She looked back at him. This man she'd spent 12 years of her life supporting. You have your settlement. You have enough money to start over. Be quiet. Be humble. Maybe learn to see people for who they really are instead of what they can do for you. And if I try to come back, fight for the company. Elena's eyes hardened. Then I stopped being nice. She walked back into the gala, back into the warmth and the music and the light. 1 year later, Elena stood in a modern office overlooking the London skyline. VR Security Consultants, her company with Catherine, had just signed a contract with 3 major banks. Time magazine had called them the silent partners who changed global finance. Her phone buzzed. A news alert. Disgraced CEO Raj Kapoor opens coding school for underprivileged youth in Pune. Elena smiled. Maybe he'd learned something after all. Catherine walked in with champagne. To the woman who walked away with nothing and ended up with everything. Elena clinked glasses. Not everything, but enough. She looked at the black ledger on her desk, the record of her journey from Geneva to Mumbai to London. The proof that silence isn't weakness. It's strategy. To quiet strength, Elena said. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is not scream. It's to build your empire in silence and let your success do the talking. The end.